Today I'll be giving a short tutorial on how to make this attack. First I'll go over setup. You'll want a folder in your workspace called effects and one folder called ignore. You'll want some rigs to test the damage on. Then in replicated storage, you'll want, let me close all this first to go by one. You'll want a folder called attacks. In attacks you'll have a folder called lightning strike effects. Here you'll have your two sounds, a color correction. You can design this however you want. You'll have a ring model that you'll use to drag with your mouse. I'll show you guys this real quick. So you'll want a center, that has a point light and two welds. The center is an invisible part at the center of the ring. Okay? And both weld constraints. Okay, first let me go over the parts. You'll have a center invisible part, an invisible part on the side, and a visible part on this side. You'll weld the center to both parts, and then you'll have an attachment in both parts. And then you'll have a beam, two beams for each half of the ring. And then you'll have one attached to the start, one attached to the end. Both will have those same attachments, but they both go in opposite directions. That's how you get the circle. Alright, put that back. You'll want a cloud. I made this about 2 years ago, so I don't remember where I got this from, but I probably just got it from the toolbox. You'll put that in there. Now these two, this attack was actually unfinished. At first I was going to add animations to the hand and then the VFX effects. Maybe I'll do that in the future, but I don't have that right now. Then you'll want a folder called modules, and here you'll have two scripts, Lightning Bolt and Camera Shaker. These two scripts are open sourced. I found them online. I'll show you where I found them. I did not make these two. So if I go to desktop and I come here, if you want the Camera Shaker, you'll go to this link, which I'll have in the description. I think I got it from here, this website. Yeah, this website. So this script at the bottom, that will be the main module, Camera Shaker. That would be init.lua. And the two module scripts inside Camera Shake Instance and Camera Shake Presets, that would be these two. Just copy and paste them as module scripts into your game. Now where to find the Lightning Beam module script, I'll put this in the description. It's made by QuasiDuck, and if you scroll down, you'll want to download this file right here. This place will have this module script with these two in it. Next, you'll want a folder for remote events, a folder in remote events called attacks, and then you'll want a remote event called lightning strike event. Then in server script service, you'll have a script called lightning strike server. And inside of that, you'll have a module script called creator handler. I'll show you these later. And finally, in starter player, you'll have a local script called lightning strike client, and then a module script called lightning bolt handler that I'll show you guys later. So first we'll start with the client script. It's pretty simple. You'll want to get replicated storage and user input servers at the top. Let me zoom in. You want to reference the lightning bolt handler I just showed you guys. You will need the player, character, mouse, and the character's root part. We will need the remote event, the ring that I showed you guys earlier, and then you'll want two values called holding and holding value. We'll start with the input begin. You want to use the input service to check when they press a button, return if they're typing. Then I check if they press Z. Initially, these values will be false and holding value will have nothing in it. I set that to true and put holding value to Z. I clone the ring, put in the workspace, the local player's camera since I only want them to see it. You probably could just put in workspace since it's a local script anyways. And then we repeat this part of the code right here while they're not holding Z. So you'll want to do ring.center, which is the part I showed you guys earlier, C frame. You want to position at the mouse's C frame, and then one stud up, so it's above the ground. You want to wait so your game doesn't crash, and this will repeat until the user lets go of Z, and after they let go, you can destroy. Then here we check when they end their input. You do the same thing, check if they press Z. If they're using it and they're holding Z, we set them back to their default values, and then we'll do lightning strike event fire server Z mouse hit. We want to send the key that we're pressing and then the C frame of the mouse. The reason why I'm doing using equals false and holding value equals a string is because originally this was designed to have multiple attacks. So if you wanted to add other attacks, you would just send a different letter. And then filing the script, later we'll fire a client event back to this script. I'll show you guys that later. Where if we check if it's a lightning strike, so if you have multiple attacks, say if you had something that said fireball, you'll just check if that equals fireball. And then our handler, which is right here, we call a function that I'll show you guys after this, where you pass the character, the mouse position, how many lightning bolts you want, and I believe this last value is how long it lasts. Now I'll show the server script. You want to get the replicated storage, the event, the creator handler, which is inside the script, which is a module. Now, I'm not sure the ragdoll works, but I could easily fix that in a later video because I made this a while ago. Here you want a variable for your damage, and then you want to check for a server event. You want to make sure they're pressing Z. The mouse hit. So, why did I do it like that? Okay, so this last parameter I have dot dot dot. The reason I do it like that is because you could really type in however many parameters you want. So when the action is Z, mouse hit, I'm passing in the C frame, which I showed you guys earlier. Oh, okay. So fire server Z mouse hit. Yeah. So that's just one parameter. But later when I show you guys the other thing I sent to the server, I believe you could have more than one thing you pass. So for damage, you can hit multiple targets at once. So in this case, it will be like a table of whoever you hit. But for Z, it will just be mouse hit. So once you get the position of the mouse, you'll fire to all clients, lightning strike, the character, and then the mouse position, which is what I do here. I create all the parts locally, so then that's what these are. And then I'll create the lightning bolts for that character. I pass in a character probably for hit detection to make sure they don't hit themselves. We'll come back to damage and creator later. So in lightning bolt handler, this is like where we actually create the lightning bolts using the module scripts I showed you guys earlier. So I'll try to make this quick. You want to get the cloud, the sounds, and the color correction that I showed you guys earlier. Overlap params, I'll explain this part later. You want the player, And now we want to create attachments. These two attachments will be where the lightning bolts are at. So if you want to create a random offset, that's what this code is for. You create a part at the bottom where the bottom of your lightning bolt will hit. Then you create a part at the top where your top lightning bolt will hit. So you want to anchor these parts. The first position is the bottom, the second position is the top. And this last parameter is just if you want it to be random or not. Just make it a small size, make it invisible. You want to put this in the ignore folder in workspace. Do the same thing for the top part. And then we want to create the attachments in the parts because you need this to create the lightning bolts. And then you want to return the two attachments in the two parts. Now we're going to do the camera shake effect. When you press it, it will shake the camera, basically. So we get the camera, and then we shake it by the C-frame, basically. They explain how to use the camera shaker when you go get it on the website I showed you. So this function, it starts the camera shaker. I chose the vibration preset. You can look and choose whichever one you want. We make it shake for 1 second and we press stop. Now this part creates the lightning bolts. So I have overlap filter descendant instances to the character. So I guess it wouldn't like hit the character that's casting it. Local top position, so I want it 30 sets high. So say if you want it 40 sets high, you'll change this to 40. And then we get the attachments and parts with our create attachments function we made. You put the bottom position, then the top position. You get the character position. You want to get the cloud model. You put the cloud model at the top position, and then we want to point the cloud towards the character. But you don't want it to tilt on the vertical axis, so you only point it at the character's X position and their Y position. But you just want to keep the top position that we made here. I'll show you guys real quick. So if I spawn a cloud, it's looking straight, like it's balanced on both axes on its Y axis, like there's no rotation there. But no matter where I spawn the cloud, they'll all point towards me. Whoops. Alright, where was I? Okay. That's how you get the cloud. Now the cloud starts off really small, so you want to tween it to a bigger size. We play the tween. The color correction is this part right here. When I first press it, I have like a slight bluish color. I mean, it's more noticeable if I spam a lot of attacks. Okay. I didn't need to do that. Let me switch back here. So if you do not want the color correction to have, like, if you don't want it to stack if they spam attack, then you would just check if they already exist in Lightning. So you'll just be like, if not game lighting, find first child, lightning color correction, then you'll want to move this into there. But I personally like it, so I'm not going to do that. Now we just do the sounds. We get the sounds. I use sound service. I put them in the cloud and I play the sound for the thunder. I don't remember if I used the explosion sound or not. Let me try. If you want to play, you'll just play local sound and put explosion. Now here we get to the actual lightning bolts. So You can choose whatever color you want. I have a lightish blue color. Amount is the parameter we passed earlier. I want a 10 lightning bolt, so I'm going to loop from 1 to 10. Wait, did I do that really? Oh, I did. So we get the attachments we need for the lightning bolt. I'm not sure if you need to create this again, because I do it up here. You probably don't, but for now, just keep it. New bolt will get the lightning bolt script that I showed you guys earlier where to get it from. New, they want you to pass the bottom attachment and the top attachment. The reason you create parts is because attachments have to go in parts. And then I think I put 40 because that's how many parts they'll make. If you want you're going to be less laggy, you can decrease this to like 20, but it might not make it look as good. So I just have 40. And too much might not make it look that good either. So I thought 40 was the perfect number. Now he explains this part if you look at the guy who made the script. But new bolt that curve size 0, curve size 1. Basically, this is how much the bolt will bend to the side. So if you look at it, the bolts don't go in a straight line. It makes it look more realistic, like it goes to the left and right every now and then. So I wanted mine to be 20 studs on both sides. So you want a random number between 0 and 40, and then add that to negative 20. So say if you get 0, it will be all the way to the left, and say if you get 40, it will be all the way to the right. So it will range between negative 20 and positive 20. And I do the same thing for the other curve. So it curves on both the x and z axis. Hopefully that makes sense. Now these are just some other variables: the pulse speed, pulse length, fade length, min radius. You can just copy these and play around with these if you want. This is the thickness of the bolt. And then I don't want every bolt to be the exact same size, so I just have 1.5 and 1. If you want your bolts to be wider and thicker, you can make this number higher. Alright, we have new sparks equals lightning bolts, that new bolt. So these create the sparks, I guess, and then you set the listener, then you play. Okay, so I do play the explosion. Actually, you can hear it. Yeah, whenever it hits the ground, you hear the explosion sound. Now this is how we damage the players. So hit contents, get bounds in radius, position, 5 overlap. So the position, which is the part of the bottom where the lightning bolt hits, I want a 5 radius because I believe that's how big the ring is, and then overlap, which is what I showed you guys earlier. This is what we exclude. And we don't want to hit ourselves, so we put our character in the overlap. And then we send it to the server because you want to damage the player on the server. So we send the word damage and then the hit contents. And if I go to server, we handle hit detection here. You just check, you don't want to hit the same player twice. You go through every item in hit contents, and then you want to get the character, check if it's a humanoid, make sure we didn't hit them yet, put them in the already hit table, give them damage. This was for Ragdoll. I'm not sure if I finished that part yet. I know I'm going pretty fast, but hopefully this all makes sense. We shake camera, which is what I showed you guys earlier. Where was I? And then we add the top and bottom part to the debris service for 0.3 seconds, just to make sure they're deleted and they don't stack up and lag our game over time. Then the interval. The interval is the time between each lightning bolt, which he passes to the function up here. Now we destroy the color correction, then we wait half a second, then we shrink the cloud, and then we clean up. We destroy everything. And that's an lightning bolt handler. Now, crater handler. So if you look at my lightning bolt attack, hold Z, let me get closer. It's these little rocks that pop up. That's what I'm about to show you. So, crater handler. What did I use that in? Crater. So, when a lightning bolt hits the ground, we create the crater at the bottom part. I don't remember why I passed the top part position, but if we go to fire server crater, crater handler, create crater, the bottom position and the top position. And yeah, I'll show you guys the crater handler now. So local crater handler, since this is a module, with the physics and tween service. Physics service equals register collision group crater rocks. Set collidable crater rocks false. So you don't want the rocks to collide with themselves, essentially. So now we're going to do some ray casting. So we'll start the ray from the top position, which is why we pass it. And then the direction would be the top, with the bottom position minus the top position. We'll do raycast params. We'll filter the map. And then we'll include. So we only want the crater to show up on stuff that's in the map. So if you look at what I have in the map folder, this is where I have the base plate and spawn location. And it will just, that's what the crater, it will copy those properties of the base plate. If I go to the spawn position is invisible, so it won't do anything. So if I hit a player, it won't make light gray blocks, since we only include stuff in the map folder. That's what that's for. So we start from the top, cast the ray down 500, and then raycast params. We'll pass that in. This is just how you do basic raycasting. The way that we even do raycasting is, say if I shot my lightning bolt, you guys gonna see that off the map, there's nothing under it, so we wouldn't create any rocks, basically. So basically we just make sure we're actually hitting something. And then if we get a result, which means we hit something, ray result that instant is the part we just hit. You'll want a radius, which is about, I guess, how far the rocks will go off to the side. This is how many rocks you want. So I loop through each rock. We create a new rock. We calculate a random offset, which would be the bottom position of the where we hit, and a random offset of about 2.5 studs on each side. And then we want to position the rock at that position. So we do C-frame, random offset plus ray result dot normal, which I guess is like a perpendicular line. I believe it will point upwards. Want to add this to your rock. You don't want it to be can collide. Or actually, you do want it to be can collide, but you don't want it to be touchable, so no code runs on it. And you want to put in the correct collision group so the rocks don't collide with each other. And then put this in the ignore folder in workspace. Now to apply the force to the rock to send it flying in a certain direction, you want to get the mass, get the look vector of the rock. You want to get random x and y variables, and then you want to apply impulse at position. Random x, you always want to multiply by mass since we're doing impulse. So random x times mass, random y times mass, random z times mass. And we're applying this position at the bottom position. And then we'll create a tween where we just make the rock go invisible, and then we'll delete the rock. And that will be the crater handler. And these two are just the scripts I told you guys to get earlier. I won't be explaining those. I believe that should be everything. Yeah, that should be everything. And if you do all of that, you should get this. Now, this was my first time ever creating a scripting tutorial. I aimed them towards a more intermediate and advanced audience, so I didn't go over the basics that much in detail because I was just hoping you guys will understand it. I don't want this tutorial to be so long. It's already at 20 minutes. Well, so if you guys want a more in-depth tutorial, or if you want me to start making basic scripting tutorials, so where you can learn to make something like this on your own, let me know down in the comments. And I also want you guys to give me advice on how I can make the tutorials better. Let me know if it was confusing or not.